how the Spurs kept hope and their season alive by taking care of David West and the rest of those visitors from New Orleans. Of course, the home team had won every game through 5, and nothing different tonight. Mr. Duncan, banks open for him. Thank you very much. Robert Ory with the assist on that one. They're up by 12. Nice ball movement here. Michael Finley to the open Tony Parker. Not a great scoring game for him. 15 points in the contest, 6 of 13 from the floor. Meanwhile, alley-oop me, if you will, Tyson Chandler. Chris Paul with a sweep. Oop, and the Club's down by just 5 points there in the second quarter. Bruce Bowen over to Manu Ginobili, and he was busting threes in the first half. 15 first half points for him. Spurs lead by 9, 52-43. Guys, Circus is in town right now. What about that from Chris Paul?
You know, there's not much really you can describe it because, you know, he just...
And back to the third quarter, he goes right back at it, but he's called for the charge there. 7-point lead for the Spurs at the break. Another offensive charge for Paul on the next possession down. Meanwhile, David West, offensive charge. Meanwhile, David West, back-to-back fouls over a span of 90 seconds. There's the charge by West. 5 fouls on Chris Paul and David West. Also a technical for David West. Meanwhile, Ginobili says, remember I was doing this first half? I'm not going to stop. 10-point lead for them, 71-61. Great end of action here. In the end action. First, Ime Udoka got the block on Chris Paul. Spurs get it out to Mr. Duncan, who rarely does that. A celebration. He does laugh and smile. Spurs up 78-63, 15-point lead at the end of 3 in the third quarter has been the story of every game of this series so far. Now David West, fortunately, foul from behind Robert Ory into the back, and he already has a back problem, so he had to leave the contest, and it's a situation they will have to monitor as we go on and on and on. 19-point margin of victory for the Spurs, 99-80. Every game in this series has been a double-digit victory for the home club.
Well, so if that's the case, then New Orleans should win on Monday. But, you know, the thing about it is I like the fact how San Antonio moved the basketball, and then I didn't like the fact how New Orleans started to hold the basketball. You know, Chris Paul had a pretty big night, but David West was only 10 points. You know, New Orleans has got to continue to run their offense. They can't get frustrated when calls go against them. And the same goes for the Spurs when they're playing in New Orleans when calls goes against them. They've got to run their offense, don't get frustrated, because they can get chippy with the referees as well.